and welcome to Amplify with Purpose, where we explore the various aspects of life, business strategy, leadership, customer experience, and discuss how we can amplify them with purpose. I'm your host, Odette de Beer, and I'm a passionate advocate for the amplification of every aspect of life and business with purpose. In today's world where there are numerous options and an intense competition, it's not simply enough to just have a product or service. To truly stand out, it's necessary to create an experience that touches the emotions of your customers, influences their thoughts, and empowers their actions. Joining us on the show today is one of our regular guests, Dr. Janine Do Cabo. Dr. Janine is the founder and CEO of the JDC Executive Group and the author of Intentionality, and most recently, It Is Finished. Dr. Janine, welcome back.
Thanks, Odette. It's always great to be here. And I love that we're speaking about customer loyalty and customer experience because that is right up your alley. So maybe just kick us off with what does it mean to have customer loyalty through customer or exceptional customer experience?
Dr. Janine, I think you may have read my mind. But before we get there, I do think we need to just take one step back and talk about what is customer experience. Everyone says we have customer experience as customer service. It's not. I'm sorry to tell you, customer experience and customer service is not the same thing. Customer service looks at one aspect of the business, while customer experience looks at the entire process from before someone is a customer right through to working with your brand and eventually leaving. I believe that customer experience can be distilled into one word, and that word is feeling. How you make your prospects and customers feel will influence their thoughts, which will determine their actions. So, customer experience looks at the entire journey a person has with your brand, which obviously starts from the moment they become aware of you, they see an ad on the website. So, that means your brand and advertising has to contribute to the experience. So, Dr. Yanine, in your view, as our local brand expert, how does effective branding contribute to creating exceptional customer experiences that create loyalty?
I like to think about it in this way. I always say that a brand is the same as a person. It's got characteristics, it's got the way it appears. So we've all got this one person that we're thinking about right now that is always so smartly dressed. But let's take a lady as an example. You've got that lady in your mind. She's always so smartly dressed. She's got such great character, and you can learn from her. You can draw from her. You glean from her. But when you're just in her presence, stuff just happens and it works. And she, like I said, smartly dressed. There's a company like that as well that you're thinking about that reminds you, and you said it, and gives you the same feeling. That is when you applying your brand correctly because people buy from people. So your brand needs to represent an actual person that somebody is interacting with. Smartly dressed means your brand is looking good at all times. Character means that your vision, mission, and your core values are properly set out. I said the other day to my team, if we think mission, then we think where we going, right? Or how we going to get there. When we think vision, we're thinking how far we're going to go. And that's the thing, your brand, the same as what people have goals. We have a mission we're on and we have a vision where we want to go and what you want to achieve. Branding is exactly the same. You need to dress your brand. You need to grow your brand. Brands, I believe, also have personal development because you need to look at it like a person. It develops throughout time into various aspects of the brand, and that's how it grows. So that all of that, taking a brand and connecting it with a person, that will enhance your customer experience and bring that loyalty. Because that lady that I said we need to think about in the beginning, you like that person. You will do business with that person for a very long time.
Yeah.
You're loyal to that person. And a brand gives you the same feeling. And if you can put your brand into, I want to say, make it into a person with personal characteristics, because you can't be loyal to a thing. You can't be loyal to a thing. You can only be loyal to a person. And if your brand reflects the characteristics of a person, then you will unlock that customer experience with loyalty over time.
I love that because ultimately, success and sustainability in business lies in something called customer lifetime value. For those of you who aren't sure about what it is, basically, it's it takes a look at the total monetary value your customer represents over a period of time. And that period of time is their time spent with you. If they only buy from you once, they have limited scope for sustainability in your business. These are one-off product businesses that have to continuously drive marketing to get in new customers. Now, we all know that it's expensive to continue on that process, and you need to find a way of maximizing your current customer base, or as I like to call it, your customer asset. So, the key to sustainable business lies in repeat business, which requires your customers to be loyal to you. That's why we're talking about loyalty, because the more they buy from you, the higher the customer lifetime value is. All of this is to say that what we need to do is to build momentum in our businesses. Janine, you mentioned something really interesting a little bit off stage, and it's called the customer momentum engine. What is this all about?
The customer momentum engine is a concept that my team and I developed to solve this problem and to help people to understand and make something very complex to make it really simple. But the heart of this engine lies in the authenticity and the belief in your product or service. It's an approach of service over sales. So many times, I think we're so focused on sales that we forget the service part, the genuine heart of the passion of your product or your service that you have. And the customer momentum engine is then this powerful cycle that helps enterprises and businesses towards that sustained growth and customer loyalty over time. If you think about an engine, it's moving all the time. It's building momentum. It's building momentum. I don't like a sales funnel because a sales funnel, everybody goes through the same process. And I explain it like this: if something goes wrong in that funnel, then it goes wrong with everybody inside that funnel. And that's where brands get damaged really bad, really quick. But if you work with the momentum and you see it as a wheel that's turning, that when something goes wrong, it just goes slower, but it doesn't mean it's going to stop. And that's where the momentum engine that keeps going towards sustained growth and customer loyalty came in. So if you think about, there's about 5 or 6 steps, but the first one you need to do is you need to intrigue your customer with genuine intentions. So intrigue your customer with genuine intentions and genuine solutions. Then you're going to engage that customer because now they're intrigued, right? So you're going to guide them through an easy purchase journey, an experience. When they buy from you, they need to be connected, but they must also enjoy and have an experience while they are doing that. And then you're going to really exceed their expectation because the journey does not end with a purchase. The journey continues after the purchase. And then this is something that I thought you would like, but it's Amplify advocacy. You're going to transform those satisfied customers into vocal champions for your brand. And that's why I say it cannot simply stop after that sale because you need to transform that person into a loyal vocal champion for your brand. And then the last step is so simple. It is rinse and repeat because you need to continue engaging them deeply and delighting them constantly so that they can promote your advocacy. And that's what the customer momentum engine is all about.
I love that. It integrates really well with our
Yeah.
advocacy engine that we have at Amplify with Purpose. And the advocacy engine has a different stance on this, but the same nuances and the same intent. When it comes to intriguing your client, it's about putting them at the heart of everything we do. So we need to know who we're speaking to. And we started off this conversation where you were saying that a brand is a person and you need to build your business to be like a person, regardless of how big it is. And the same is true for the people that you sell to, because There is a person buying that thing, not a number. And when you treat that person like a number, they will know. We are very intelligent. We know when someone is fobbing you off.
Exactly.
And in that instance, you withdraw. In our advocacy engine, we talk about clarity in our message. Who do we work with? How do we work with them? And part of your intrigue process is having a clear message about who we are as a brand, as well as what problem we solve for them. Now, there is a definite rift between marketers who do pain point marketing and those who do solutions marketing. And I want to say that neither is right or wrong. I think it's a balance or a tension that we need to maintain because people buy solutions to problems. That's the reality. But you can't be pushing pain points the whole time. And I'll tell you a little bit of my experience. I initially moved over to Australia, obviously, a couple of years ago. And at that time, I was fairly fragile as a human being, having given up everything by choice. And I'm now in this situation and I'm buying something and I'm having a conversation with a service provider who is constantly digging at the pain points. So it was a very emotive purchase. It was a painful purchase and I regretted every moment after that. Because when we push people purely on emotion, purely on negative emotion, purely on pain points, then we have to make sure that we can deliver. And when we're then half baking the potato and giving them a cake that falls flat because the oven wasn't hot enough, then you damage your brand, you damage your reputation. If you think about your most cherished memories, there are two things that stand out for you. There's either a really happy time in your life that you remember as a child growing up, or it's a really painful moment. And both of those have an impact on how you respond. So when we drive our marketing message on pain points, then we are driving the negative emotions, which is still a feeling. But now that person will always associate your brand with that negative emotion. I would love for people to look at me and to look at my brand and go, you know what? When I speak to Odette, I'm energized. I feel empowered. I feel somehow larger, somehow like I can do better, somehow like anything is possible. Because yes, we all have problems and we all have to find solutions for them. But at the end of the day, it's the solution that matters. It's okay to be sad, but we don't wallow in our sadness. I think this is an important point to make. When we are choosing our message, we have to choose the message that fits with our brand and our purpose. You spoke about the mission, which is how we are going to get there in the next 10 years. And you spoke about the vision, which is where we're going. But I think we also need to incorporate in that the purpose and then the outcome that we want to create for our customers. Because if your brand purpose is to make people sad, then okay, go for it. But if your brand purpose is to empower entrepreneurs, then empowerment is a strong emotion. And that emotion needs to come out in your messaging. It needs to come out in your advertising. It needs to come out in the way that you depict yourself. I love what you said, that the brands go through a process of maturing because when you start your brand, it's a certain personality. It's like your kids. We're still learning. We're still figuring out who we are, what we want to do, how we work with people. And we mature over time. And that brings you to the point where you now are that lady who's always perfectly dressed, always in such a good mood, always has a smile on your face because you are never fully dressed without a smile. Someone once said. So that's an important part of the experience. And when we think about that from the beginning, then I believe our experiences will be so vastly different. And then in your engine, you talk about bringing people on the journey, making sure that you can get the sale from them, and then transforming them into advocates. From a business perspective, or from at least from our perspective, that's where things like accountability comes in, taking ownership of the journey, consistency, because nobody likes Jekyll and Hyde. Let's be honest. And if your brand is Jekyll and Hyde, man, nobody's going to buy from you. And one of the things that we sometimes forget is that people buy the results. We go to the people we enjoy, the businesses we like, the restaurants we like, because we know what to expect. It's predictable. But that predictability is boring for a business owner, entrepreneur. I get it. But that predictability is what makes you a good business, because when someone advocates for you, they are endorsing you. It's like they're attaching their name to yours. Now, I don't want to attach my name to anything that's shoddy, shady, or up and down and mediocre.
Negative.
So I would not advocate for a brand who potentially could one day do that to one of my best friends. So we have to
Yep.
remember that in terms of the way we create experiences and the way that we show up in our business. You mentioned, Janine, that we need to build momentum and we can't always be focusing on the sales. So why is it important then to create the exceptional experience, if not for the sale?
For me, as the number of the brand evangelists or those vocals or the advocates are growing, so the momentum of your brand will also grow. And that leads to thriving, sustainable growth because you're building a support system, you're building fans. I call it the F factor. Your friends, family, fans, and followers. That's what you're building around you. And that brings momentum in your business, within your structure. I love what John Maxwell says because in his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, he talks about the law of the big Mo. The law of the big Mo is momentum. But he says that momentum is the leader's best friend. And the reason he says that is he says because many times momentum is the only thing that makes the difference between winning and losing. And that's why momentum is so important because sometimes that is the only thing. The consistency creates the momentum. And we spoke about consistency, consistently growing, consistently showing up. That brings the momentum. And going back to the pain points that you said, I agree with you because the feeling that you leave somebody with is what's going to stay with them, right? And if you leave them with a negative pain point, when they think about your brand, that's what they're going to think about. I don't think it's wrong to level with somebody and say, I'm sure you are experiencing this problem, and then leading with, here's the solution. Because now they understand that you understand how they feel. We're leveling here. But here is the solution, and here's how I'm going to help you to fix that. That also creates momentum because I've seen sometimes with a pain point, it stops the person in their tracks instead of helping that person to get to a solution and create the momentum. So for me, I can only agree with John Maxwell is the sense that sometimes momentum is that thing that could be the difference between winning or losing. And I think that's very important. And there's more things like momentum that's also important when it comes to companies and their experience. So what would you say is another thing besides momentum that's important for people when it comes to customer experience?
I think once you have momentum, your momentum is going to amplify who you are. And you are either going to build authentic connections or you're going to break them. Because the faster you move, the faster you either build relationships or you break them. Dr. Henry Cloud, in his book Integrity, talks about what integrity is. And he says if someone has integrity, they will create and maintain trust and they can face reality. So, going back to the pain points, there is a reality that we face, that there are these challenges and we can work on them. Nothing is insurmountable, but we also work in a way that brings results, which brings me to another part of the advocacy engine, and that is finding ways to improve. I often speak to businesses and they'll be like, look, I created this thing and it worked. Now, 2 years later, it's not working anymore. That's because we thought that we could set and forget. And the set and forget sets in when you don't have adequate measurements in place. So accountability is about taking ownership, but you empower the ownership by what you measure. And by what you measure, you create and drive or slow down momentum. If you have a salesperson whose job is to phone to make sales and you only drive number of calls made, you won't make sales. So now that person and your brand is not in integrity because you are not working in a way that brings results. And that's not necessarily that person's fault, right? As the leader, you need to have a balanced scorecard that says, I want you to make the calls. I want you to make the sales. The sales have to be on the book for X amount of time, which means that you've got to make quality sales, not emotive sales. And I want you to do it in this way because this is the language we use. These are the things we say. This is the process we follow. And we then go through the process of onboarding that person. So once you've got that in place, now you can start driving forward momentum and looking back on it on a regular basis, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, to say, where are we? Where did we want to be? And is there a delta? What is the delta and what caused it? One of the things I used to do in all the businesses that I went into, the larger businesses, was daily and weekly huddles. Now, the first thing managers and leaders say is, I hate those and I don't want to do those. And my response would always be, tough. We're doing them because it gives you an opportunity to understand where the team's at. It gives you an opportunity to understand what's working, what's not working. And it gives you the opportunity to say, if these things aren't working, do you perhaps have a proposed solution? Have you thought about it because you work with it? Or let me take it away and go and fix it or go find a solution and bring it back to you. You can only continue with your momentum if you've got your finger on the pulse. And unfortunately, businesses often think that they can push for sales, reach their revenue targets, and take their foot off the pedal because now things are happening. If you don't have the systems in place to support it, you are going to end up making emotional decisions. So you'll focus on the fire that's burning as opposed to the important thing. And you are not going to be able to drive continuous improvement and innovation, which are keys for a sustainable long-term business. Because Janine, are you the same person you were 5 years ago?
Please don't.
Exactly.
No.
And all of our customers are like that. Everybody is continuously evolving, whether it be in their
Yeah.
desire, whether it be in their preferences, the way that we expect to do shopping. How you shopped 10 years ago versus how you shop now is not the same, not even remotely.
Yeah.
And if you are going to do the same and forget and step back and say, I'm done, my business is successful, you will be left behind.
That's
I
so
mean,
good. And I love what you say because one of the other keys for me is authenticity. And you also mentioned that because when we are authentic about who we are as brands, you have a true conviction in what you are selling. So think about it as believing in a cause, right? If you are passionate about a cause, it's infectious towards other people because they see the passion and they see the drive in that. And that can override any polished sales technique every day because there is passion and conviction behind that. And it's the same as like motivation. When you motivate somebody and you are authentic about what you say and encouraging them, then it rubs off on that person. It's the same when you have true conviction about what you are selling. And that authenticity fosters that genuine, authentic customer connection. And that creates the foundation for that loyalty for customer experience in every transaction. I used to think CX, how did we get there? And CX is not that X that you used to see, it's the current customer experience that you are having. The X in a relationship is past. The CX in customer loyalty is the future of your brand. And that's the easy way to remember that. I love what Alex Armanzi says. He says that the real key in sales, it's a dance. It's not a fight. And it's working together for a mutual benefit. I just love the way he says that.
absolutely. I knew a salesperson once who used to talk about their new customers as victims. You wouldn't be surprised to know that this was a terrible salesperson who didn't sell much. And it's in the way that we view our customers. And it comes back to me to the fact that we have to genuinely care about our customers. Sometimes that means that what you've got on the table to sell them is not what they want, need, or should buy. And we should have integrity enough to say, this does not suit the problem that you've got. and they make the decision, given our purpose as an organization, to decide, do we innovate so that we meet the problem with a solution, or if we find a different group of customers who we can honestly serve. Because when you really care about someone, they will care about you. When you are loyal to a brand and you notice that things are going wrong because COVID shut them down or because the economy is doing whatever, you would most likely be the first person to, hey, this brand does these things. I get X, Y, and Z from them. Why don't you join me in supporting them? Without being prompted, because now you as a customer care about the brand. But that only happens because they first cared about you.
That's that mutual benefit that we're speaking about. It's for both. It's a relationship. And that's why I keep going back to a person, because you have a relationship with a person. And you know what? There are people connected to every business. So you do have relationship with the people as well. And with the benefit that that relationship is bringing to you. But yes, it's both ways. It's not a one-way thing. And I love what you say, because that falls part of authenticity is when you can genuinely say to that person, that's not me. I can't do this for you. What you want, here's the company to work with, or here's the solution. I don't do that. Instead of dragging them along. I was explaining it to my kids the other day in this simple way, because that what we were in the kitchen and that was the closest thing. And I said to them this, I said to him, when we service clients and we sell genuine washing powder, we were standing there by the laundry. And we sell genuine washing powder that makes a difference in this, that, and the other. But my client brings me shoes that needs to be hand washed. I can take that shoes and I can put it in and wash it with my washing powder. But that's not the best thing for that shoe. And they were like, oh, I get it. And sometimes, and they are just children, and sometimes we overcomplicate that so much that it's, yes, I have a solution, but does it fit your need so that both of us benefit at the end of the day? Because that brings that loyalty that we spoke about right in the beginning. And it also obviously goes, that's where the rinse and repeat came from, was from that conversation. Is like sometimes you have to do all these things, and just when you're done, you evaluate, and you're a strong advocate for evaluation and checking what went wrong, what went right, and then we rinse that thing and we repeat what we did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Now, Janine, we have a summit coming up in September. What can our viewers expect?
Oh, it's going to be great. We have multiple speakers that's going to be part of that summit, myself and also you. And then we've got Christy, the expander. I'm really excited to see and hear him talk as well. On the level of leadership and teams, he brings so much to the table. And Odette, you speaking on customer experience and the knowledge that you have on that. And on my side with the brand, we can truly help companies to take where they are now and take their company plus their brand and their people to a next level. So if you haven't booked your tickets yet, you can go over to the website and book your tickets. There's also group discounts and early birds for the guys that are very excited, just as excited as we are for it. Then head over, grab your tickets, because it's truly going to transform your business in the long run as well.
Absolutely. The theme of the conference, the summit, is Amplify Your Personal and Business Life. Early bird tickets, they are only available until the end of April. If you want to connect with people who are like-minded, pushing forward, ready to achieve new growth and levels in their business, then that's where you need to be. In the meantime, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe this YouTube video. If you're listening to us on the podcast, can subscribe wherever you're listening to us. You will find Dr. Janine's details in the comment section below. Connect with us on all our platforms and have a conversation. Tell us how this is helping you build your business, connect with your customers, and grow your brand. Until next time.